It's about the time she walked away from me. Nobody likes you when you're 23. 1, 2. We all about to live for. Come on, shout it out. I'd do anything.
I know you see and experience a million things in a summer. You're all over the place. You go around North America, but I'm going to work on your memory just a little bit. I'm just wondering if you remember we met in bizarre circumstances. The last time we met, it was bizarre circumstances. It was on Warped Tour. It was in Montreal. I'll give you those hints. Do you remember?
Yeah, I think it was when Fletcher threw me in the water. Yeah, it's a famous piece up here. Me getting thrown in the river.
Yeah, and then me getting thrown right after. So you know.
That's how we met. Yeah, and I still get reminded of that quite often.
Oh, this.
Yeah, man. You fucker. Oh my. Wait, not the mic, not the mic.
The mic.
Put the mic aside. I'm going in. Was Fletcher throwing you into in the water payback for something you had done, or did you have to pay him back after this? Was that a free one?
I think we paid him back a couple days later on that tour, that show, when we put, there was they put hot pepper sauce on his Zima bottles. So they're all on stage in Detroit because we'd played here. We went to Toronto and Detroit. And it was the last day of the tour. And they put hot pepper sauce on his Zima bottles. And he'd drink one. He went on stage, grabbed it, drank it. And he was burning his mouth. And he turned and grabbed another one. And it was right in the middle of the show. And he couldn't play. And his mouth was blistering up. And everyone got a great... We all got it because he'd been shooting people with his BB gun while they were playing later. So, so it's kind of a give and take. I don't know who owes who right now. I don't know if we're even or I have to still look out for my back.
This was the 10th anniversary and the best year attendance-wise. Everything's going super well. Let's go back to the beginning. Talk to me about the idea you had and the motivation you had, the inspiration you had of putting this all together and starting this adventure.
Well, I worked with a punk promoter in LA called Golden Voice, and we brought all the bands into town. Back then it was GBH, the Cro-Mags, the Addicts, and I worked with those bands, and I was used to those bands each sharing floor space at our houses, or them traveling and sharing equipment. So when bands would come here, Circle Jerks would put them up at their house. And then when they went to England, maybe they put them up at their house. And I saw that kind of going away, that feeling of community. So many bands were on major labels or had big managers. And this was going to be one summer where I got a bunch of bands and try to put all our efforts into trying to make something bigger. And so we shared buses. I mean, that first year we had Quicksand, we had Civ, we had Orange 9mm, we had No Use for a Name and Sublime and L7. And it's kind of funny when you put No Use for a Name and Sublime and Orange 9mm on one bus to share a bus. And we had No Use for a Name and L7 on a bus sharing a bus. I had a bunch of skaters on my bus. And we went out and tried to do something different, like to go out, and it was $15.50 to go to the show then in American dollars. And we went out and tried to show that we could work together to try to build up a scene. It's kind of tough that first year. We almost didn't make it through our first year. And I know there's some criticism because I've used corporate sponsors on the tour before. But what we were able to do was when bands came in 1996, they helped me allow to do this a second, third year. And it grew into something that I think has captured, and kids trust each year. The ticket price is still fair comparatively if you had to put that big a festival on. And they kind of trust the brand that we're going to bring some great bands that they know, as well as bands they may not have heard of, and where it's been a great platform to launching a lot of talent and music out By not messing with what we do, I think we get a good mix of maybe the younger, maybe more popular pop bands, pop in this genre of music that are maybe getting more mainstream radio play, but still focusing on bands like Anti-Flag and the Casualties and giving them a platform. Kids may come because they've heard a Yellow Card song on the radio, but they get turned on to some other music while they're at the show. It would probably make our days a lot easier if I didn't have those little stages. But I think that's where people would be able to write us off. But when there's 8, 10, 12 local bands get to play every day, it's kind of it's invigorating to the scene because the kids get to do their own promotion. They get to maybe meet some of their heroes in some of the national bands, because how many times I see like guys walk up to and they're a little shy and they'll walk up maybe to the guys in Good Charlotte and give them their demo tape or their own CD, you know? And I think maybe that spawned, I mean, there's a little band Getaway yesterday I saw in Toronto, and they're saying they're on Newfound Glory's record label now. So maybe they met Newfound Glory at one of these shows. Who knows? And Newfound Glory was on my little stage. Newfound Glory comes up to me and says, I played on the local Battle of the Band stage.
Personal favorite band that has done the Warped Tour in the past 10 years?
Well, I would say Sublime, but they never got a chance to do it a second time. Band that gets to come back into it, Rancid. Rancid to me, whenever they're playing live, they're so good. I try to, even if I'm really busy or like tied up, I try to run over and just check out a little bit, because I love Rancid as a live band. And I was excited this year when the Transplants decided that they're going to come with a full record and a full band, and we're going to be able to work with them. Because I think on the last record, they never really got to play for that Warped audience. They opened for a few shows for the Foo Fighters, but they never got to come and play for the crowd that I think is going to really appreciate them so much. So this is going to be a lot of real exciting.
Thousands of bands have done, Warped Tour in the past 10 years, but how about a band that you would have loved to have done it that hasn't done it yet?
A few of them. I mean, there's a few that'll never get a chance to play. I mean, I always wanted the Ramones to reform and play it. And I even went so far to give them, say, I'd have the all Ramones all the time stage, where all Marky Ramones bands played, and Dee Dee's, all their little incarnations of their own band, and they would close with a Ramones set. But that's never going to happen now. Joe Strummer was scheduled to play that summer. The following summer, we were hoping Joe Strummer would be able to come back, and he passed away the summer before the tour. But the band that probably should have done this whole tour, but they did play one show in Montreal, probably is Offspring. I mean, they played one Warped Tour show in history, and it was a show here at the Hippodrome when we were playing out there. And I think if there's one band that probably should have done this, when you go back and see all the bands that have, I think Offspring probably should have been out here one time, or at least.
NoFX had to cancel their visits to Canada on Warped Tour the past 2 times, but you have good news.
Yeah, well, I was talking to Mike right before they had the baby, which they had a beautiful baby girl from everything I hear, is Mike's in 2006, won't be next summer, has said that NoFX and the Gimme Gimmes are doing the whole tour. And you can send me this tape, because we now set it live on TV, so I can show him, because now I'm going to throw him to you guys and if he doesn't show up.
In the early years, Quebec City was a stop on the tour. It was gone for a little while, and this year it was back. So 2 questions. One, how did that go? How was the Quebec experience this year? And the second part of it, how are these decisions made of, okay, we won't go to this city this year, or we will?
Well, it's working with the local promoters. We work with and get a feel for what scene's going on, feel if it was, with Quebec City, we went up there and it did okay. We probably should have kept going. Yeah, we should have kept going looking back in hindsight. But due to some routing problems or some scheduling problems, we didn't go back. And then it kind of faded away for a while. But now I think we've put a conscientious effort that we're going to go back. It's on the schedule for next year already, which the schedule is already done. So we're going back to Quebec City. Plus, I found out, there's a promoter up here named Paget Williams, who his family has a great lake house. Yeah. And I really love that lake house. And if I don't go play Quebec City, I'll never get to go to his lake house again. So by going to Quebec City this year, we had a great party at the lake before the show. So I put it on the schedule. But also the kids really, I think, appreciated us coming up, and that's what we have to go back for. And as long as the promoters will support the show, I'll get to go to the lake house. So that'll be
good
fun.
Deal, good.
It's a great trade.
It was fun that you could come and talk to us. Talk to us about Warped Tour. It's fun that people can also put a face on a name, because a lot of people might know the name, and a lot of people know your face as well. But this is good, and I often say up here that Warped Tour, when Warped Tour comes around, it's kind of like Christmas for punk rockers up in Montreal. So I guess you would be a little bit like Santa Claus to this.
Yeah, getting a little gray around here too, so I'm looking more like Santa Claus every day. No, but we love coming up here, and I think it's been, we've been coming up here every year, and we'll keep coming up here and maybe hopefully do more cities in the future.
Awesome. Well, thank you for the time once again, and have a great time in Montreal. You have some time. You have some free time now. Have some fun. Thank you very much, Kevin.
Thank you.
I think it's gonna be a long, long time. It just sounds crazy when I get too quiet. I'm not the man that think I am at home. Oh, no, no, no. I'm a rocket man. Rocket man. Burning up my views of hell. Yeah!
I bring out the worst in you, and you try to let me know. You bring out the worst in me. Anxiety, anxiety. I'm trying to let you go. You say I'm giving you the creeps, but I assume the wall. Open my claws, it crash for your heart. How are you? How have you been? Girl, I miss you. Wanna see you again. Into you, like a motorstick, so vindictive. Your love slipping away. Violate.
Go ahead and try. Just ask your boy. People love society. Running from the line. You never go. Never gonna know. Never gonna make. Have to find home. You wanna try. You know, right to the top. Right to the top. While alone in your own society. Outside of the lights of the light, it's a ring. Set an evil fun, false democracy. Subjugated souls dying to be free.
Unlucky 17, ready-handed plans for the future. Grammar obsessed, shown how to dress and told how to think. And I don't have a job, but I can show you how to be yourself. So many days wasted and days. Sometimes I laugh out loud as I think about you asking me, please can you help? Can I myself? I'm not your savior. I'm not who you want me to be. A cowardly mistake I've made so many times before. Refusing to pay. Cut my losses out there with you. Like a good boy I'll pretend and promise not to do it again.